Kind of glad I got all this. I got 15 years worth of firewood, because apparently I'm going to have to live the next 3 to 6 months without cash. Fortunately, I'm in pretty good shape considering the life that I have set up for myself. As you know, we live off grid. I've been living off grid for 3 years, and we've pretty well got our stuff settled. I'm going to start out here with the firewood actually. We're coming up on winter, so next month, this is September, next month I would expect to have to start the wood stove. And we have plenty of firewood. We only use about a cord a year in our little tiny house. Tiny house is less than 200 square feet. I light the wood stove 2 to 3 times a day, sometimes 4 if it gets into the single digits. But here in Missouri, single digits are not that long. The most you'll get as single digits is maybe a week, 2 at the most. We have hickory and oak, which are just the highest BTUs you can get. I think there's one higher than hickory. And I think hickory is the second highest and oak's third. Don't quote me, but you can Google it. BTUs of firewood, and you can see which breeds have different BTUs. And here in Missouri, we got so much oak. I mean, this is all oak. We don't actually get any firewood off our property. We have an app called Free Stuff. Occasionally somebody will post on Facebook that they got some free firewood, the tree they cut down over the spring to clean up their yard or whatever. We go pick it up. 3 truckloads makes a cord. Fortunately, we don't have to pay an electric bill. As you may know, and some of you may know, we have solar panels, got 1200 watts. Now on a day like this, we're not making a lot of electricity. I am going to have to consider days like this, am I going to have to run the generator? That's going to take gasoline, that's going to take money, cash, debit card, something, credit card. Of course, you got a credit card, then you got to pay monthly bills. If you don't have cash or a bank account, you can't pay that monthly bill. We're debt free, so I don't have to worry about anybody coming and getting my house. My taxes, that'll come up in December, January time frame. I got to pay it in December. I can make enough money off eggs to pay taxes for $43 a year. I probably have enough cash in my wallet to pay that. So the electric, we run the freezer, the well pump, a tablet for YouTube videos, a couple of cell phones. We also can run a coffee pot so we can make hot water. That way we don't have to use propane. Carolyn uses the coffee pot to do dishes. Of course, we still use propane for showers. Now I have, I think 12 full 20-pound tanks of propane. So on a cloudy day, let's just assume it's really cloudy, and I'm gonna have to charge the batteries off the generator. So generator charges the batteries through a battery charger. I would have to run it for 4 hours. Now, you don't have cloudy days every day, and that's just so I can run the freezer. I have 5 gallons of gas, which can last me 6 to 8 weeks. And then I have this dual fuel propane gasoline generator, and it can run 30 hours on a tank of propane. So you see the propane tank there, that's one of them that I said I got 12. There's the generator. It runs off propane or gasoline. 12 tanks of propane, if I use them all on the generator, would give me what, 360 hours? My math may be wrong. I probably wouldn't need to run the generator more than, gosh, once a week. I mean, coming up in the winter time, we're gonna have to run it more often than we did in the summer because we have more cloudy days. But we have 2 cloudy days coming up, for example, today and tomorrow, and then the rest of the week's gonna be totally sunny, and I won't have to run the generator at all. That being said, if things start getting really rough in the wintertime, I'll start canning all our food in the freezer, and then we'll shut the freezer off. That way, all I need to do is run the well pump and the coffee pot for water and hot water. So we're fine on electric, so we don't have to pay an electric bill, so I don't need any money for that. We have water. Now, I mentioned the electric and the firewood first because I was standing by it, but there's 4 things that I really consider that you gotta have in a situation like this: food, water, shelter, and security. Shelter would include electric, heat, air conditioning, but we don't use air conditioning, and we won't need air conditioning for these 3 to 6 months. So just heat. We got electric, got hot water, so we should be fine there. Now, we do have enough firewood that we can burn wood to cook, so we don't have to use propane, just in case we need to use propane on that generator. And we can heat our water up over the wood as well. So if we wanted to shower, On a sunny day, we can run that coffee pot 3 or 4 times. Now, the coffee pot's water is so hot that you can't touch it. So when she does dishes, she takes one pot and then fills the rest of the tub up for her dishes with cold water. You know, to take a sponge bath, wash your hair, brush your teeth, we'll have plenty of hot water. Now, we have chickens. Of course, they're going to start slowing down a little bit, but we have probably 300 days worth of, well, maybe not that much anymore, maybe 250 days of canned food, plus what's in the freezer. And we have considered that the freezer is full. It has 90 days worth of food, so there's 3 months of food just in the freezer, plus the 200 days that we got, 250 days in canned food. So I think the food's okay. Of course, hunting season's coming up. We won't have a license, but in a situation like this, maybe you could get a permit. Now, hunting licenses in Missouri for property owners, certain property owners, you can get free hunting license. We wouldn't be able to, but I can still get squirrel because I do have squirrel license. We can get raccoons and different things. So there's things that we can still eat if we needed to, but I don't think we're going to need to. I think we have plenty of food. So there's shelter and food. Now, I talked to you about water. Water is easy for us. We don't have any issues with water. I have a 275 gallon IBC tank that we fill up and keep full. Today it's cloudy, so I won't put any water into it from the well pump. The well pump takes 800 watts. We have 1200 watts of solar. It takes 15 minutes to fill it up on a daily basis. We use about 30 to 50 gallons a day. So we could go a couple weeks without filling the IBC tank. The well pump I can run pretty much from 9:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. off the solar panels if I needed to. So I could start filling, let's say I used all the water. I mean, we never have done that. We've always been able to fill it, no matter how long the cloudy days have been. We've been able to fill it before it went empty. So we could go a week or two. It only takes about 2 hours to fill it from empty, because when we first moved here and when we moved the IBC tank up to the house after we built it, that's how long it took to fill it, about 2 hours. So we could easily do that on a sunny day. Again, never had that problem. I don't think it's ever going to be an issue. So the only thing left out of the 4 criteria that I gave was defense. Now, this is not a nationwide SHTF, stuff hits the fan, we're all going to die, and hordes of people are not going to come raiding me. Now, I have a credit union. My credit union is actually pretty far away. The banks around here are still fine. It's just a credit union. I don't see any problems with people coming in and raiding my stuff. Now, I do have self-defense. In a time like this, my self-defense that I plan on for an SHTF wouldn't actually be legal. It's never legal. I don't discuss my defense. And we were discussing this, Carolyn and I, you know, once this came up, what would we do in a defensive situation? Well, I don't know if this is a good reputation to have or not. I think it is. I'm not a people person, so I don't want people coming around here. I have a no trespassing sign. And what I did intentionally one time, when we first got chickens out into the yard, Carolyn was holding one of her favorite ones, and a pit bull came up and knocked Carolyn back. So when she fell back, she let go of the chicken because she was afraid she was going to fall. Chicken fell to the ground. The dog instantly killed the chicken. I made a scene. One of the neighbors came out, heard the ruckus. The dogs were up on the road. I ran up on the road, and I was chasing them. Now, I had my firearm in a safe manner. It wasn't like I was swinging like a madman. So when the neighbor came up the hill, I said, I'm going to shoot these dogs, whoever dogs they are, if I find them on my property again. Since then, we've gotten a reputation that we're going to protect the chickens, which is good. When Carolyn's son was here, he was, of course, going out and being friendly to the neighborhood. We weren't. We don't know anybody here, but he started knowing people, getting to know people. And one of the first few people, well, I guess few people he met, all said, the only thing we are known for is staying to ourselves, which is true, and that we will kill anything that harms our chickens. So they know that we're armed and that we don't want to be messed with and that we want to stay to ourselves. So that's a good thing in a bad situation. You want to have a reputation where they're scared of you. I mean, if you imagine in a SHTF where the whole world's went crazy, the cities are going to go nuts. Looting, stealing, I mean, it's going to be terrible. But if you live out on a country road somewhere, nobody's going to come out and bother you because they don't know if you're going to come walking out with a shotgun or a rifle. Carolyn was telling a story how they ended up going down this private road by accident years ago. They saw the no trespassing sign, but they couldn't get turned around. So they figured they'd just go ahead and drive on down the road, turn around, and come back. When they got down to the end of the road, the guy was standing out outside of his house with a gun, asking, "What are you doing here?" Of course, they're saying, we're here by accident, sorry, we're trying to get turned around. So that's the kind of reputation you want to have in these kind of situations. To kind of put all this into perspective, I was watching a YouTube video this morning, and I wanted to put a real scenario in place. The YouTube video was talking about when the banks crash. You have silver and gold. The utility companies aren't going to take silver and gold for at least 3 to 6 months. The gas station isn't going to take silver and gold. So the whole country has crashed. The dollar has crashed. There's no currency available. Of course, you can still spend cash if you got it, but the banks have crashed. There's no ATM machines. So he's saying that you got to have cash. You got to have 3 to 6 months cash on hand. And so when you're listening to the video, you're thinking, yeah, this is a good idea. Yeah, you probably do want that kind of cash laying around. But then when you really start thinking about it, and all the banks have crashed. Now remember, we're watching a prepping channel, which I'm going to get to more into just a second. Let's just say we're talking about the electric company, just as one example out of all the examples that he used. The electric company. That way you can go to the electric company, pay your electric bill in cash. Well, that's a good idea. But who's going to take your cash? I wouldn't want to work for a company that's not going to pay me. If all the banks have crashed and the electric company is producing electric, who's running the place? Nobody. Nobody's going to be there because they're not getting paid. I'm not going to work for free. And how many people in the world have 3 to 6 months in cash laying around, plus stockpile of gold, plus what's ever in their bank account? We're talking about a diversification of money that nobody has. I may be able to do it. I was thinking about this. We may be able to pull that kind of cash out and store it somewhere, but I don't have any bills. So the only thing I got to worry about is my insurance, my taxes for the house, the cell phones. That's it. Well, if we're in that kind of situation, I'm not going to care about any of it but the taxes. So I don't see how 3 to 6 months of cash is going to be helpful to you if nobody's taking the cash. The major sticking point in these kind of videos that I have is they want you to spend and spend and spend. They want you to spend to stockpile all your food. They want you to spend to stockpile all your medications and have a first aid kit that would keep a hospital in business for years. They want you to have high-tech equipment like a solar generator that costs as much as my entire solar setup. I figured I got $1,200 invested in my solar panels, the whole setup. You can buy one solar generator without solar panels for $1,200. Well, how are you going to charge it? And they want you to go buy gold and silver. So for 1 ounce, about $2,000. Don't quote me on the price of gold. I haven't looked it up in a long time. Let's just say you got to have $5,000 in cash, $5,000 in gold, plus whatever in your bank, plus, I don't know, $5,000, $6,000 in food, $5,000 or $6,000 in medical supplies and the medications, $1,200 to $5,000 in a solar generator. I can't even imagine what all in ammo. You got to have $5,000 to $6,000 in ammo. Firearms, so there's another $5,000. They want you to have all this stuff. And they want you to spend. It may never actually happen in your lifetime. So you got all this stuff that you may never actually use. I've never understood what they're talking about. Why did they stockpile all this? You still have to have cash. If the banks collapse, isn't that what your stockpiles are for? I just went through my scenario. If the banks collapse, this is what I'm going to do. My life won't change. I will continue to do everything the same way I am currently doing it, except without car insurance and cell phones. But preppers sit around theorizing, romanticizing, telling you that you got to have all of these things to make it. What they're trying to do is they're trying to preserve the life they currently have. Apparently, preppers have a lot of money. I mean, we have to think about it this way. They have 3 to 6 months worth of cash. They have 3 to 6 months worth of gold, maybe more, I don't know. They have a bank full of money. They have a big house. They have a pond so they can go fishing in when SHTF happens. They have $5,000 to $6,000 in ammo, $5,000 or $6,000 in firearms, air conditioning. They have solar generators, lots of them, so they have lots of money, telling you how to spend your money. No one ever talks about how you're going to survive without money, which is the realistic thing. If there is no money available, the banks collapse, the value of the ATM card is gone. How are you going to survive if all you do is rely on money? This is not a realistic way of surviving. And the thing is that these preppers are so good at scaring you. I was convinced for a minute, yeah, you know, maybe it's not a bad idea to get 3 to 6 months worth of cash out of the bank, dig a hole, put it in a safe out here. And then I got to thinking, that's ridiculous. So if you'll click this up next box to take you to a video where I was talking about 22s being banned by the government. So if I can inspire you to stop living in fear and live your dreams. Thanks for watching.